screw it, I'm freaking doing this. Like nothing is gonna stop me. It's the spaceship. It takes all the energy to get it like 100 feet off the ground. Once it's out of the atmosphere, it hits a little button and goes fast. But it takes all that energy to get off the ground. So my goal in some of my trainings each month is to give you that burst of energy to get done today and go, screw it, I'm freaking doing this. Like nothing is gonna stop me. And I know so many of you are massively successful. This isn't about, oh, you're pathetic and this, it's about where you are. You know there's another level. That's all it is. And it doesn't mean that it's never enough. Listen, God didn't put us on this earth to settle. I think at the end of our life, if we have the opportunity to talk to our maker, he's not gonna say, I'm so glad you found your groove at 24 years old and kind of settled for another 70 years. Like, that's not what he wants. That's not what we're designed for. I always say Dale Carnegie's quote, my favorite one by him. He said, the biggest plight of the human race is knowing you have more potential and you're not using it. Like, you say that, you're like, yeah, yes, right? So how do we trick ourselves into knowing that we deserve this? We deserve to take uncomfortable action, to fail forward and to figure it out. Because if you think about that, how are we with, I know this is far away from business and stuff, but how are we with kind of our inner peace? Like making amends with ourselves. We help our kids solve problems. We help our kids not have regrets. We help our kids not have enemies or let go of pain. Like maybe I'm wrong, but like wherever we are, we want what's best for them. We know you're studying personal growth. You're studying letting go. You're studying focusing on solutions. You're doing all this while simultaneously, internally, you might be fighting with yourself and still have that person that you need to forgive, or forgive yourself for the mistakes in the past, or forgive yourself for procrastinating, or forgive yourself that you were scared up to this point, or forgive yourself that you screwed up the relationship. It was you. We want our kids to forgive themselves. We want them to forgive others. We want them to work on being grateful and having gratitude. And simultaneously, we wake up sometimes and our guts are spinning while we're helping someone else. Is it true? Let me know in the chat if anything I'm saying here today is resonating, right? So if that's the case, why are we waiting to fix this in the next generation? You got a lot of years left on this earth. Let's fix it with us. Remember, like, just think, this is what I try to do all the time is, if I stay this way, my kids are gonna be that way. I literally punish myself that way. Because if I stay this way, they're gonna be this way. There's nothing I can do to change it, right? Another thing I wrote down is like, who are we when no one's watching? Like, we think we can put this facade on in front of our children, right? It could be children, it could be spouse, it could be partner, it could be friends. But we get to put this face on in front of other people, right? But then who are we when no one's around? Because I still believe our kids become who we are when no one's around. I think kids are the biggest, like, lie detector, bullshit detector, excuse my language. Like, they just feel who you are and they become it. Okay, who in here has ever had something that you do that you're like, oh, this is mine, or it's adult, or it's kind of quirky, I never want my kids to see this one thing I've done. And then if you've had kids, they're a certain age and they do that exact thing that you think you protected them from it their whole entire life. I see you laughing, James. Like, where did that come from? I didn't teach you that. It's like, it's intuitive. So who are we when no one's watching is even important, right? And that leads to our values, doesn't it? Right? What we do when people aren't watching is just, that's our character. We could say our character is one thing. We can pretend our values are one thing. When no one's watching, the things you do, that's who you are. But you know what the most congruent thing in the history of the world is? Is being the same human when no one's watching and when everyone's watching. That's one of the things I strive for more than anything. And I have to tell you, like, even in my relationship, I have to tell you, in the past relationship, I wasn't happy. And my wife and I were, my ex and I had different relationships. And I have to tell you, I traveled a lot alone, and I'd prefer to do things alone. And I'd make trips up so we could have time apart and all that stuff. It really wasn't congruent. Deep down, I wanted to be in love. I wanted to be connected to someone. I wanted someone to share this journey with me, but I kind of pretended I didn't. My God, it's the most amazing. I don't want to go anywhere without my wife. Like, nowhere. Like she's my everything, right? I wasn't congruent back then, and it felt kind of crappy. And I love that feeling. And the last one I want to say before we're going to hopefully I set this up in a good way. One of the biggest things we always get is the whole imposter syndrome or I'm not good enough, right? But what if your children or your hypothetical children grew up and felt like imposters? What if they felt they weren't good enough? What if they let self-doubt push them into a job they hate, but they thought, well, my mom took this job and she stuck with it. She stuck with it for 42 years and she put us through college and she took care of us. If my mom could do that, then you know what? I'm not that happy with this, but I kind of feel like an imposter, so I'm just going to stick with it. When I say that, does that give anybody else like the hair stand up in their arms of like, now screw that. If my daughter came to me and said, hey, Dad, I love you. Good to see you this weekend. How's it going, babe? Oh, you know, I got that job. And well, I heard you wanted to have your own art company and be a designer and design companies and all that stuff. Yeah, Dad, but you know, I didn't get the best grades in school and you know, I don't want people to think I'm just living off your coattails, so it's okay. I took that job. You know, it's a good job, great benefits. If I saw her with that kind of expression on her face, I would die. I would die. Like, are you freaking kidding me? Life's too short. It goes by in a second. Like, you don't realize it now, but how fast is time going right now, right? Like, we don't have time for that. And if we feel like the imposters, if we allow that to dominate our space, that's what we're giving out to the world. We're letting people know it's okay to let self-doubt, to let past accomplishments create this imposter syndrome to say you're not good enough. And even if you think it's not a part of you, in so many cases it is. Because if you're not moving forward as fast as you think, there's still one area of your life you think you need to get better at. You may never get better at it, and that's okay.